Welcome to Behind the Build, presented by ATL BitLab. I'm Stephen DeLorme, and this is a podcast where we talk directly to Freedom Tech builders about their latest projects. On this show, you are going to hear about topics like Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, privacy, cyber computing, decentralization, and all kinds of cool stuff. This episode is sponsored by ATL BitLab. ATL BitLab is Atlanta's Freedom Tech hackerspace. We have co-working desks, conference rooms, event space, maker tools, and tons of coffee. There is a very active community here in the lab. Every Wednesday night is Bitcoin night here in Atlanta. We also have meetups for cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, decentralized identity, product design, and more. We offer day passes and nomad passes for people who need to use the lab only occasionally, as well as memberships for people who plan to use the lab more regularly, such as myself. One of the best things about having a BitLab membership isn't the amenities, it's the people. Surrounding yourself with a community helps you learn faster and helps you build better. Your creativity becomes amplified when you work in this space. That's what I think, at least. If you're interested in becoming a member or supporting the space, please visit us at atlbitlab.com. That's atlbitlab.com. All right, on to our show. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here today with Randy from Blockstream. Thank you for joining me.
Yep. Hey.
So we are here right now in ATL BitLab. You're in Atlanta. You just happen to be in town here for a poultry show. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love chickens, you know?
Yeah. Chickens are the bomb.
Yeah.
We actually do have there's like a really good every year, really good like chicken show like south of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have like all different breeds. You can
I'll be willing to go.
Yeah. Do you actually raise chickens?
Next time you should. No.
I was like, oh, he actually raised chickens.
Yeah, that's what's a new experience.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be kind of neat. Where are you visiting from?
I'm from South Florida. I live in Broward County, which is just north of Miami-Dade County. So I'm involved in the Miami Bitcoin scene over there. Involved in events at the Bitcoin Grove. We have something called Bitcoin Brunch every Sunday. And
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so if you come by Miami, and there will be stuff for you to do if you want to check it out.
Yeah. What's the vibe at Bitcoin Grove these days? Like, do you do like Bitcoin meetups out of the space?
Yeah, so I used to run my own meetup called Understanding Bitcoin Source, where I go and teach people who want to learn about Bitcoin and the source code behind it. Nowadays, we have bit devs running out of there, and in the past we try to start a Miami Bitcoin design club.
Nice.
So we might put that back up in the future. So we're trying to foster a better community over in Miami for Bitcoin. It's, I think, prospering, and we'll continue to host more and more events out of there. Who
was doing the Bitcoin design thing? Who was spearheading that?
So it was Roz and then someone named Judina. Both of them were doing that just for a small stint, trying to test the waters, see if people are interested.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't think they quite got the interest that they were looking for, so they put it kind of on pause until they were able to find designers who are interested.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, I know like Austin has the Austin Bitcoin Design Club, and I've been to their meetup before, and it's pretty well attended. But I think that's also just because of the critical mass of Bitcoin. Bitcoin builders in Austin, and but it was a great meetup. But yeah, I'm not sure how easy it is to replicate that in other cities. But I think it's great to just try meetups and see. Like, we're doing some things like that around here at the lab. We're just like trying out cybersecurity night and AI night and stuff like that, and just kind of like seeing what sticks, because you just got to do the meetup and see who shows up for it. And it takes a little bit of time for them to kind of reach escape velocity.
Yeah, and have a good amount of people. I did about 21 Understanding Bitcoin Source sessions before I kind of put it on hold. And I would say, I started off with maybe 3 people, and I ended with 7 to 10 people. Nice. So it definitely took a while to get those people, but once you have a core group who's going to attend your stuff, it feels pretty good.
Now, are these the ones before we started recording that you were telling me about? Are these the ones that you actually recorded?
Yeah. So these are on the YouTube channel.
All right, so we have the Bitcoin Grove channels right here. So these are all actually from the meetups at the Grove then?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Although not every session is on there because I messed up in the beginning with the recordings. Or I wasn't going to record when I first started it. Roz actually recommended, he's like, hey, you should start recording these and like live streaming off Twitch. I was like, sure. And people can get a preview of what they're going to go into if they want to come. I just thought it was a good idea because BitDevs isn't recorded, but there's a lot of knowledge that goes around there. But of course, culturally, we never film, right, or take pictures of BitDevs.
Yeah.
It's Chatham House rules. So this was an event that we wanted to make more public and can advertise the space with a little bit.
Yeah, I understand the struggle. It's like we struggle with that here too in Atlanta, of like the culture of the BitDevs being Chatham House rules versus like actually wanting to share the information and record it. Honestly, these days I've kind of moved past Chatham House rules. I mean, I certainly hold Chatham House rules if there's like if I feel like there's guests in attendance or members of the audience who feel like it's important to them. For our like regular community, we don't. But I think honestly, the only reason we don't record as much is just because we honestly just like time and like maybe laziness and all that. So that's really good that Roz is like trying to convince you to record stuff, because certainly it's very useful. Like one of the things when I was a volunteer, or when I was a Bitcoin design contributor, it was pretty incredible. Just like we record one of our calls or meetings and put it up on YouTube, and like a year later it would have all these views, and it's like, who's watching this stuff? But it's like, for some people, it's like, you never know, just having a conversation, it's like really valuable when other people hear it, like, oh, that was exactly what I was wondering about. So that's good, you're recording stuff.
Yeah. And I'm glad again for future interested parties to be able to go on and look at my stuff and learn stuff. Even me, I will do a deep dive of research for each session, and I'll forget it maybe 2 weeks after. So sometimes I rewatch parts, like which part of the Bitcoin Core code base does this again? I know I've looked at it before, and I can go in one of these videos, and I like to point out like code in my slideshows. So I'll look there and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Just have QR codes on there as well, so people can like fact check or verify. I think that's really important. So a lot of my presentations will always have QR codes, so people will be like, oh, like, is he right? And scan it, and like, maybe I'm not. In fact, one of my videos where I was showing how to do base 58 encoding, I did something incorrectly, and I see it now, and I'm actually going to leave a comment on there. But if you looked at the algorithm, like, I just did it wrong. Although there's like a site that for base 58 encoding, and I think that one might have been wrong. So it's again good to verify.
And I mean that's always great. It's like that's like the meetup organizer and like educator hack, where it's like, how do you know all this stuff? And it's like, well, like I was pre-committed myself to like doing a presentation on this, so now I have to learn it. It's like,
so, of course it's YouTube.
Exactly. That's how it's like that social accountability. That's how you learn stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got like dived pretty deep into Bitcoin Core source code before. Have you made actual commits to Bitcoin Core, or are you just hacking around?
I only have one commit, and that's the testing. I always trying to make non-controversial changes. If I do anything to help Bitcoin Core, it will usually be like a fix to a test or attempted fix to a test. Or if there's a bug, I would like to explain it. But I'm not one who likes to argue too much.
I gotcha.
To try and get something in.
Yeah, that seems like certainly for new features to Bitcoin, that's like very difficult. It feels like it's more of a consensus building process.
And bike shedding. Sometimes there's someone who has a very straightforward change. Maybe they're adding an RPC method, but people are like, oh, like, why don't you add this? Or why don't you add that? And it's
actually.
It's like, it doesn't need all those things. And it's almost a barrier to having this like very base feature in. So
I don't know how to solve that, man. I've seen that happen though in source. That can really slow things down and derail things. That's some like deep human psychology shit.
Yeah. So that's why I can't deal with Bitcoin Core. Like, I generally don't contribute all that much, and if I do, it'll be under a pseudonym.
I gotcha.
And if I were to make anyone mad, like, it doesn't matter, because no one's gonna hold me accountable in person.
Burn that identity, start a new identity, make everyone mad again.
Right, exactly.
Eventually, one of the identities eventually gets PR merged.
Yeah. See, you know it. You know the flow.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Well, so you're not going to be making probably not getting any serious features merged into Bitcoin Core anytime soon, but you're working on other stuff. What are you working on these days at Blockstream?
So I'm working on Greenlight. That is probably the big public-facing project that I contribute to, and it's been a journey. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're constantly trying to improve the product with regard to our backend infrastructure, with regard to the SDK, of course, marketing to let people know that this thing exists. And yeah, it's generally been a pretty fun time learning the architecture.
So for the average Bitcoiner who has heard of Lightning, maybe has wallet of Satoshi or something, but maybe doesn't go that deep into it, what's kind of the explain like a five on what Greenlight is for that kind of person?
Yeah, so Greenlight is probably easiest described as an SDK that wallet developers can use to issue their users non-custodial Lightning nodes. Though I'm trying to think of the simplest way I can explain how it works. But Core Lightning is a collection of daemons.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those daemons is hsmd, and it contains all the signing logic within this module Core Lightning does. So what Greenlight does is I don't know if I need to explain this part, but these daemons talk to each other using file descriptors.
Mm-hmm.
And we put our own hsmd on every user's Core Lightning node's file descriptor. And what that does is it remotely signs things to the user's device by sending the user's device messages. And of course, your phone or wherever your signing device is needs to connect to our servers. But we essentially kind of replace hsmd with a proxy.
So basically, Core Lightning implementation that Blockstream kind of kicked off. So with Greenlight, you're running a Core Lightning node in the cloud, but you've taken that signing daemon and you've basically put a proxy in place of it, and you're just going to put the key on the user's device. So it's like the user has a cloud Core Lightning node, and then they have a key on their device that's actually handling the signing for that Lightning node. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, whenever your Core Lightning node needs to sign something, it'll send it to hsmd. Our implementation of hsmd checks for connected signers for this specific node. Mm-hmm. And if it detects it, it'll go and usher that data over. The device that you have your keys on will go and sign those messages, send it right back to your Core Lightning node, and bam, you have a fully working implementation of Core Lightning in a way such that we will never have the user's keys.
That's very good. Yeah. So this, I thought, does it run on is it like a Docker container or something like that in the cloud, or how does Greenlight work exactly? Well, actually, this might be let me ask a different question. I guess I'm a little confused. One thing I've been I haven't fully understood with Greenlight is how much of it is open source versus how much is not. Is the actual stuff to run the Core Lightning nodes in the cloud, is that open source? And I'm assuming the key stuff that runs on the phone is open source. So what's the lay of the land there?
Yeah, so the signer is open source. That is in the Greenlight repo on GitHub. And then for Core Lightning, we need to install certain plugins to allow us to, interject in the flow in certain places to allow us to do some optimizations. Well, one optimization that we do in terms of how we run our infrastructure is all the users don't have their nodes online all the time. And because your node is kind of spun up intermittently, it doesn't have all the data it needs. So we do write plugins that go into your node to smooth out the experience that, to not make it as bad as it would be without those plugins. Some of those plugins are public, some of those plugins are private. Some more separation, of things are so we have a form of our hsmd replacement in the public repo, although we have additional logic that we use to wrap the public form in our backend repositories. And I think those are the big thing. We have you have to have a watchtower up all the time. That unfortunately is not in open source, because we have thought about maybe devising some method that allows users to run their own watchtowers is just a very dangerous thing to have users running their watchtowers and us running a watchtower for them. So,
is that because like if both watchtowers, like if the watchtowers detected some malicious thing happening on chain, both watchtowers could like try to broadcast a transaction at the same time?
yeah, or like if they were like out of sync, or I don't know, something ridiculous happened. Yeah, one was exposed to a transaction and maybe another one wasn't.
Yeah.
You try to game or attack one, then like the other one could go and maybe do something that wasn't expected.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, like so if one of them has like channel state that's not fully up to date.
Right.
Okay.
Then we don't want anything like bad to happen, essentially.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I guess in the future you make it just so that like you turn the Blockstream one off, and then the users want. I guess it would be like the user would have to be like assuming full control of their watchtower at that point. Like,
yeah,
I certify that I understand you're not running a watchtower for me, and I will run it myself, and I understand I'm responsible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of risks to that, but that is where we'd like to go, to give the users a choice to do run whichever parts of the infrastructure they want. In fact, one of the biggest features that we like to advertise as part of Greenlight is we do allow users to export their node state, so that if you wanted to go and run your core Lightning node that you have established on Greenlight on your own infrastructure, you will be able to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Although, we don't expect that many people to want to do that, because like the whole point of going to Greenlight is that we handle the infrastructure. But some companies want to be self-sovereign completely. Yeah. And this is a nice stepping stone maybe to getting there.
Yeah. Okay, you said something interesting there, though, that like the user's node is not online all the time, so you have to have the plugins to manage that. So tell me about that. Like, why is it that the node doesn't need to be online all the time?
Yeah, so the liveness requirement of Lightning, or a lot of these layer 2 protocols, that there's not that many, but or even if you look at Arc, like there's some liveness that you have to have as a user, is to make sure that no one steals your money.
Yeah.
And if we have a watchtower that's running all the time for all of our users, then there's no reason, to keep everyone's core Lightning node on all the time. You might think, oh, well, isn't routing going to suffer from these type of things? And it does. But there's ways that we get around it. For example, we have trampoline payments integrated into Greenlight, so that if you wanted to go and delegate routing to Breeze, you'd be able to do that. And again, kind of all these edge cases that you might not think of when you're running a node intermittently come up. So we think of ways to get around this.
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of routing, I guess it depends on like what you're actually using the Greenlight nodes for. Cause like, I guess, one thing I try to explain to people about Lightning is I think we formed this Lightning narrative in 2021 that a Lightning node is a thing that runs on a Raspberry Pi in the corner of your house. And, I try to combat that narrative. Like, no, a Lightning node is actually many things. It could be a routing node where you're trying to, open channels and, collect fees off of routing payments. It also could just be like something running on a mobile device, or something that's more meant as like end user receiving payments, occasionally sending, but maybe receiving, never really routing, just has a single channel with the LSP and all of that. So that seems like that would be like a prime candidate for a Greenlight node.
Yeah, so Greenlight nodes, they don't, just to clarify, they don't route payments through them. Just when you're paying an invoice, like, you have to do some route finding.
Yeah.
I guess that'd be I noticed that my wording might have been confusing there.
Okay, so
yeah,
and so it's like basically like, okay, you want to pay my Greenlight node, but my node is asleep right now, and so it's like maybe it has difficulty finding a path to my node if it looks like my node is asleep, like if it's offline. Is that
right? Well, yeah, trying to connect to things when you build your invoice. Well, because you could build the invoice, and then the node that's paying you is trying to find, how they can pay you. Yeah. Although if you use something like Breeze, their SDK, they include route hits within the invoice. So they make sure that you hit their LSP before you hit a Greenlight node. And that is how Breeze would be able to go and, notify the user that, like, hey, our LSP is receiving a payment. Although we do have mechanisms in the works to allow users to, or, developers who integrate Greenlight, users of our SDK, to be able to handle those cases even easier.
Seems like with like blinded paths and like all that like Bolt 12 brought us, that could be an option too. Like it's like you almost have like a the blinded hop in the path could almost like maybe solve that problem too, because like if the person making the payment never even knows the recipient's node ID anyways, then like it wouldn't even matter if the Greenlight node was online or offline. Does that sound right, or does it sound like BS?
Can you say it again?
Like, you remember with like blinded paths in Bolt 12?
Bolt 12, yeah.
Yeah, so like there's like this whole idea that like, okay, you can basically have like a blinded hop, right? And it'll be like, you know, Alice wants to pay an offer from Dina, right? But she doesn't actually like the offer doesn't actually expose like Dina's like direct location on the network. It exposes like a hop,
Okay.
like a blinded hop. Like it actually gives like the node ID of like Bob, who's like a blinded hop or something like that, and Bob ends up constructing the route to find Dina, so that Alice never knows. So I guess I was just thinking out loud there that like it seems like blinded paths could help in a certain sense, because maybe you wouldn't have that issue of like it looking like Dina's node is offline.
Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah. That would also help if, again, you were an LSP using Greenlight, like Breeze. Right now, it's kind of just the LSP and then these edge nodes, or like, Leaf, the nodes at the end of the network. Yeah. And there doesn't really need to be like advanced routing here. It's just like our LSP direct to the individual payment. But if we had maybe a whole private network full of our Lightning nodes, Greenlight nodes that could route maybe amongst each other, then an interesting idea would be, Breeze being able to go and make hops for people to navigate an internal network or something of the like. Yeah. And this intermittent architecture is one that makes sense for us. It's focused on payments, but it's not disqualifying any future possibility of having always on routing nodes that people want to go and pay for.
Yeah. So it'd be like maybe in the future there could be like a premium Greenlight node that's online all the time.
Right.
And I guess that helps out that like, okay, if you think that you want to build this as like a solution for users to receive payments, they're going to be running this from mobile devices. Everybody has a mobile device. So like if you had like, 4 billion people across the world running, with Greenlight nodes, then that would be a huge like cloud infrastructure cost. So it's like the node going to sleep, I guess, what helps with that cloud cost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's essentially a way for us to keep costs low because it keeps our resources low.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So like if I like want to use like, I think another thing I've been a little unclear on with Greenlight over the years is like it as a consumer technology versus it as like a business to business developer tool. Is it more, would you qualify it more as like, classify it more as a business to business developer tool?
Yeah, I'd say in the form it's in right now, it is targeted towards wallet developers. So developer targeted tool, whether you're a hobby developer or you're a business, it is towards wallet developers.
Do I need like a certain amount of like capital or like commit to anything to like start using Greenlight?
No, you don't need much. You do need an LSP. So we don't offer LSP or liquidity services at the moment. If you need them, you should go to Breeze, and Breeze's SDK handles the connection to their own LSP if you want to use them. But it gets you online pretty fast. But yeah, that is the one thing that the developer needs to think about, where the users are going to get liquidity and what nodes they should be connecting to get that.
And so, I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could just like manually open a channel to your Greenlight node, but that wouldn't really work for the kind of like user experience you're trying to create. Is that right? Like,
are you saying like me as a user or a developer connecting my like regular node to a Greenlight node?
Yeah, like if I'm a developer and I just like make a Greenlight node, can I just like open a channel to that node from another node I run?
You can make a connection to them. One kind of small detail is our Greenlight nodes don't accept outside connections.
I see.
So you can connect to any peer you want in the network. So I can connect from within Greenlight to my Lightning node. Once that connection's made, we can go and create a channel between us and that is a possible thing to do. So.
Got it. So it's like the kind of thing I can't just like randomly connect to a Greenlight node. I need to go on the Greenlight node and I need to say, okay, add this other node as a peer. And once I've added that other node as a peer, like from within the Greenlight node, then we could open channel.
Right.
Okay.
Because we don't accept random inbound connections for Greenlight nodes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to like create any false, impression that if you were to go and do this connect and then create a channel, that it's going to be on all the time. It's like, there are some challenges that need to be faced because of the intermittent nature of Greenlight nodes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you don't want to create the impression that it's like just like an always on Lightning node or anything like that. Yeah. So what's like the newest with Greenlight? Are there any like new features that have come out like lately that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about pairing and webhooks, which are two things that we're going to be pushing to outside developers for third-party integrations or for apps that will be using Greenlight. And what pairing does is it allows another device. Technically, it could be your own, or it could be some other third-party developer to get something called a rune, right? Which is a concept in Core Lightning. Although Greenlight has their own concept of runes, it kind of works, the same. And you can give these runes to these developers who, let's say, build applications that integrate into your Core Lightning node. I always give a quick example of maybe you want an accounting application to be on top of your Core Lightning node to know where all your funds are going whenever you receive a payment or you make a payment. And part of the story for this is webhooks. So even if you have another device with a rune, this other device needs to go and make requests to first kind of wake up your node and then ask for a specific piece of information. And it doesn't always get like the full picture because there are things that you as a user could be doing that this third-party application doesn't know.
Yes.
So that's where webhooks come in. If let's say I want to receive a payment on Breeze, but I have another application that's connected to my Core Lightning node through a rune or could make a connection, and on Breeze I receive a payment. Webhooks will allow the Greenlight backend to go and send a message to this third-party application that registered itself with this Core Lightning node. And that way you can kind of have this whole ecosystem where I could do stuff outside this third-party application. They get notifications, and when they want to go and take actions, they can go and use that rune and make commands for Core Lightning node. And one nuance this whole process is you have to have your signer connected to the Core Lightning node for anything, for almost any significant action to happen or any funds to be received or being able to send and update your channel. So the signer does need to be connected. So it's not like this third-party application can go make these huge payments without your permission. But it is a cool thing that, at least information-wise, they can go and query things whenever they want. And there's rules that are put on the runes. So if you don't want this accounting software to have all the information that you can get from your Core Lightning node, I can say, hey, you're restricted to be being able to do these two commands, these three commands. And that's, I guess, the whole thing of pairing.
So if I want to make, let's say, a sync to QuickBooks extension for my, Blockstream Green wallet or something like that, which might be connected to a Greenlight node, I would go and program the extension in whatever language it is that QuickBooks wants you to use. I actually don't really know a lot about how their app store marketplace works, but let's say it's like a, Node.js thing running on a web server or something that's designed to talk to the QuickBooks API. And I would set it up so that it's like, okay, you want to pair this wallet with QuickBooks, and I would need to get one of these pairing runes from the Greenlight node and load that. Basically, the user would upload that through some hopefully user-friendly way to this extension service. So that extension service now has the ability to kind of talk to the Greenlight node and request information that's scoped to whatever that rune can do. And then I could also set it up so that there's a webhook so that the Greenlight node could hit that webhook on this extension service every time it's like, hey, I sent a payment or I received a payment or some condition has been met, hit a webhook on that my extension, QuickBooks extension service, and then it would say, okay, now I'll use the rune to request the information I need. Is that like good?
Yeah, perfectly said.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood it. Yeah.
No, I think you said it better than I did.
Well, I mean, I ask you a question, you tell me like literally what it is, and then I have to think about it. Like, is it? How would I use this as a developer? Okay, that's cool. And somebody actually should go build that QuickBooks thing because,
I mean, there's a lot of things you could build. I've been thinking something quick. Someone can make as a general like LNURL service, right? That you give it your rune, you have some like webhooks, and it can essentially do everything for you with regard to managing some URL.
Oh yeah, I guess that's right, because I guess you could make like let's say LNURL pay is the obvious one for the just being able to fetch Bolt 11 invoices, though I'm hoping we see more offers support. But you could also do something like LNURL withdrawal. So I guess if a user did want to say, okay, here's a payment that I want someone else to be able to claim, I guess you could make a rune that's like scoped to only being able to send 10,000 sats or something like that. And then you could have this service that has some kind of third-party web service, has that rune that's capable of sending X number of sats, and then the webhook hits and it's able to allow somebody else to withdraw. It's really just initiating a send, but they're able to withdraw that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. So essentially you could impose something like an amount constraint and then say, you're allowed to make these payments, just like you said. And then if someone wanted to withdraw, then they can hit that server and it should have all of the access it needs to go initiate that command. Of course, your signer still needs to be connected. So there does need to be some notification system from the service to your app on your phone, or if someone wants to make a desktop app with the signer, feel free to and welcome to. But yeah, you do need that notification to say, hey, turn your signer on if you want this thing to work. You can have always connected signer as well.
I see. So even if you did make a rune that was able to send a certain amount, the user's key would still need to
the user always needs to be there to sign it.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part with Lightning. It's we want this UX with making. I think a lot of people want this UX where it feels kind of like Cash App or Venmo or something like that, but it just requires keys. Keys to sign HTLC updates, and it's our channel commitment updates, and it's that's the hard thing, because it's if only we had some way of making a really complicated channel construct that I don't know, allowed us to say, okay, well, these amounts of funds require a signature from this key, but a smaller amount of funds require signature from this other key or something like that. But that just starts to get really super complicated, and I don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe it could be. I think there's a lot of room in design space for Lightning once you consider all the changes that Taproot was able to bring with store signatures.
Yeah,
we have Moostig now, we have Frost. We have a lot more things to build with. Although it's a challenge to even create Taproot channels, for example. That's not an easy feat. And integrating things like Moosig or PTLCs is a huge topic. Those things aren't easy. So one step at a time, but I wouldn't dismiss the idea of being able to do stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, I would hope so. I need to read up on the PTLC conversation. I think I saw something about that in the LN Summit notes. I'm curious to read about that, because I think PTLCs would solve a lot of problems, but it's it's one of those things that's very complicated to implement right now. Yeah. But one day we'll get there. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, tell me real quick, while we're talking about runes, cookies. Macaroons are supposed to be better than cookies, and are runes better than macaroons?
I don't know if macaroons are better than cookies. Just it's a way to define state that you can send to a server. There's macaroons, and runes are supposed to be even smaller than macaroons. It's supposed to just have these a small set of restrictions. I don't know if like one's better than the other.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I conceptually understood the difference between them. So it's like, a macro, like with L&D has macaroons. So for anyone who's listening who's an L&D fan, like you probably know your macaroons. Runes are like the core Lightning equivalent of that. So both methods allow you to say like, okay, this credential has a certain set of permissions to it.
Right.
But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of differences. I mean, on a conceptual level.
No, just maybe the way that you build up, your rules, those can be different. But yeah, I'd say macaroons and runes are more constricted to like permissions of a node. Well, cookies in general has been the general term for like, here's information that you send back to the server. Whereas like this is kind of domain specific information, the macaroons and runes. And I think like I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I think it was Rusty who said like, hey, I want to use these runes, and he has like a repo for it where he was first designing like a simple language to use. But it's supposed to be even simpler. It's supposed to be something quick, easy to use, and expressive enough to do whatever you want to do with your Lightning node.
I like the name Rune. It sounds like real like high fantasy or something like that. Like I feel like when I hear like I'm like on my core Lightning node, it's like I'm going to make a rune. I feel like I'm in like Diablo or something like that.
Well, if you want to look at home, or if you want to look later, the person who implemented this rune system within Greenlight, his name's Peter. He made something called Futar. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it has something to do with like these old, maybe Nordic runes. So he has some like theming.
Amazing.
He was also inspired by the name runes.
I love it. Well, cool. So we've talked about Greenlight here, pairing, webhooks, all of that. What's kind of next for Greenlight and the kind of core Lightning ecosystem? Are you looking for contributors or like help on certain projects, or what's next?
Yeah, so we're looking to, number one, make Greenlight more and more reliable. We want to be able to give developers better stats on the nodes, because like they're paying for them. Nothing too invasive that you get to know like everything, but enough such that you could make certain decisions on how you want to build your wallet, let's say. So more feedback for the developers, for allowing users to register nodes. The second thing is, of course, I did say reliability, which is just our own backend infrastructure. Sometimes we get surges in traffic, and those can be somewhat hard for us to manage. For people to be able to schedule the node or have the node online, we have to have enough compute to schedule these VMs to allow everyone, to go and do stuff with them. And that it's been a challenge in the past to appropriate resources like efficiently. And I'd say that's for a lot of other companies too, right? It's like, how much do you allocate? How much resources? And especially when you don't have stable traffic, it becomes like a huge issue. But we're doing things to try and ease that burden for us.
That's the challenges of every like cloud-based company goes through, is the scaling and descaling and managing the. How do you build up all these cloud assets when you receive a spike of traffic? Yeah, it's no joke.
So that's more of like a backend thing that developers and users should feel when we are able to optimize something or make it better. And that other thing, just with like pairings and webhooks and all this other stuff, is to basically allow users to do more with their self-custodial cloud-hosted Lightning node. And I think, those things are kind of what we're focusing on right now in the near term.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, is there anything else you want people to kind of know about or look at or check out while we're here chatting?
Just in general? Or?
Yeah. I mean, Blockstream Greenlight related projects you got going on at the Grove. Causes you care about. Just
I mean, I've been really interested in the ZK stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not like super well versed in all the algorithms like, Groth 16 and all these other things that are used for verification. But I think the idea is like very interesting because everyone kind of uses ZK. If you think about it with signatures, right? You're proving that you're in possession of some value that was used to make this public key.
Yeah.
Right. So the prover is you if you generate a signature, and the verifier is the Bitcoin node, right? It's saying, yeah, the signature is good. So what the ZK guys, I say it as like it's one group, but there's a whole bunch of different groups are trying to do is they're saying, give us some inputs to some arbitrary program, and we'll have the Bitcoin blockchain verify, the inputs and an output that you submitted and say like, yes, this is correct. And I think that's like really interesting.
It's interesting to me too. I wish I understood it better.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like I understand Lightning well enough at this point, or I don't know if I am, but I feel at least competent talking about it, whether I am or not. But with the roll-up stuff, it's so fascinating. I feel competent talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, but it is very fascinating, and I mean, I'm hoping to learn more about that stuff this week. I know we got a lot of ZK people working on various ZK implementations in town right now. So.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see all those talks. Another thing I'm interested in general in support are like Arc Labs. There's Tiero who's leading that, and I love the Arc stuff. Love Tiero. I love what he's doing for Bitcoin. And Second.tech was also just announced recently. That's with Stephen Roos and Eric Desmet, both former Blockstreamers, and we like to give a lot of support their way because they're trying to push the space forward.
Yeah, that's the Bark thing that they made.
Yeah, and fun fact, Eric was also on our small Greenlight team of 4 engineers. So
only 4 people working on Greenlight.
Yeah, and we're starting to expand it a little bit more and grouse with the Core Lightning people and say, hey, can you make this change that would benefit both Greenlight and Core Lightning? So we have expanded with 2 more people who are getting onboarded, but who was already working on Core Lightning in the company.
Yeah.
But
see, that's interesting to hear you say that about that. Okay, Greenlight having to reach out to Core Lightning and say, "Hey, can you make this change for both? Because it would benefit both projects."
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I don't know, there's a certain level of Blockstream conspiracyism in the industry, I feel like, and it's extended beyond Bitcoin. There's people who aren't even into Bitcoin or crypto, and I've heard conspiracy podcasts about Blockstream and stuff. So that, having said all that, that's why it's really interesting to I think most people's intuition would be that oh no, Core Lightning is built from day one to serve the needs of Blockstream, but you're saying no, it's actually not that way. Core Lightning sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that Core Lightning is kind of its own open source independent project, and that Greenlight is a Blockstream product, and just like anybody else, the Greenlight folks have to collaborate with the Core Lightning folks in an open source way and make sure that it actually makes sense for the goals of both projects.
Yeah, we generally don't make a change to Core Lightning if it would just benefit Greenlight. It would have to benefit both. That's the only thing that makes sense to us.
Yeah.
And Greenlight is nice because it accentuates all of the maybe bugs or maybe inefficient schemes that exist within Core Lightning, because we're running a whole bunch of Core Lightning nodes at scale. So if one thing goes wrong, we're able to see, all these nodes, why are they lagging, or why are they taking so long when there's a small surge of blocks or something like that?
Yeah.
And if we look deeper into it, we're like, oh, this is actually something in Core Lightning, and at the individual scale, it happens. It's just that it's not really noticeable because it doesn't have any negative impact on the user experience. Or there's always an edge case that you could hit, right? And it's just no one's hit this edge case as an individual. Yeah. And we can only detect that this could be an edge case because of our deployment at scale. And that's really cool to see. It's almost a QA environment for Core Lightning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's great. It's like when you're running a lot of Lightning nodes in the cloud, you can kind of see that stuff, and you can see those trends, and if something isn't working, it's like you can test something on a single node or 2 node or 5 nodes in a cluster, but when you've got like thousands of nodes running, you can just see a lot more different patterns to explore, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. So yeah, no big conspiracy.
Yeah.
That's funny. Like me and some other people within the company, like we always thought it'd be funny if like one of us posted on Twitter and like said, good idea. A lot of conspiracies are like, I don't know, they're super big and like grand, and it's like, BlackRock and like all this other stuff. And then like it'd be funny if one of us like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's have them chart out our plan on how to take over the world, because they seem to know how we could do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, thanks for the free advice. I wasn't going to do that. Now I'm going to do it.
So it'd just be a funny joke. You're like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So
I hopefully, I don't know, maybe we live in postmodern enough times where that would go over well. I don't know. Maybe don't.
Oh no! I mean, I think personally, it's like a funny joke.
Maybe.
I wouldn't have anyone actually do it on Twitter, but I think it'd be funny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Randy, this has been wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to teach me all about Greenlight, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come out with next.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about anything that we discussed, you can look for links in the show notes. That should be in your podcast player, or you can go to atlbitlab.com/podcast. On a final note, if you found this information useful and you want to help support us, you can always send us a tip in Bitcoin. Your support really helps it so that we can keep bringing you content like this. All right, catch you later.